Street.
And if the odds makers are right, the Oregon Ducks will win their second straight bowl game today.
Now, both these teams are coming off great seasons. These programs are on the rise thanks to veteran coaches. We'll feature Rich Brooks and Earl Bruce next.
Hard to believe that Rich Brooks has been head coach of the Oregon Ducks for 14 years now. He's not flashy. He does not seek the spotlight. Brooks has brought the Oregon Ducks program to this level through integrity and through hard work. I had a chance to visit with him recently, and I think you'll gain some insight into the kind of person that Rich Brooks really is. I asked him if he was satisfied with the progress of the Oregon football program.
Well, I don't know who can be satisfied. I know I'm not. I don't think our players are. I think the only way you can be satisfied is if you haven't lost a game after a season, and then you know that you've done it. You haven't lost a single game. Until that happens, if it ever happens, I won't be satisfied. If that happens, obviously, we'd be in the Rose Bowl, and that's what I think our team, our coaches, our fans would all love to see.
Is coaching a good life? I mean, you've told me you have to go undefeated to really be satisfied. Rarely do teams go undefeated. Is coaching a good profession to be in?
I think that, you know, the pressures to win and what the pressures we put on ourselves to win, and you're right, I will never be happy unless we're undefeated, totally happy. But it is a good life because you measure it in other ways. You don't measure it on the wins and losses. I've had some very good years where we haven't won a lot of football games, some enjoyable years because of the young men you work with. You see players come in and develop as people and go out the other end as well prepared as you could possibly expect to succeed in life. And I know it's corny and hokey maybe a little bit, but I really do truly believe in the student-athlete concept, the development of character, the growing from a boy to a man. And I think during this period that happens, and it happens sooner with some than others. Some of them we don't get it done with. They don't develop the way they should, while others exceed even our expectations or mine. I'd like to think of it as an extended family. I chew them out, I scold them, I praise them. I see them develop and change, not only on the football field, but off the football field, in the classroom, and with their character and personality. So that is the part that is enjoyable about coaching.
What is your trademark, or what would you like your trademark to be as a coach? What would a Rich Brooks team be described as?
Oh, I don't know. I'd like to think that we will always compete, and that can take a lot of different verbs to explain, toughness, aggressiveness, whatever, but compete, and that we will be a clean, honest program.
You say you're a competitor. Now, on game day, are you one of those coaches that likes to compete, that you're excited to be down there on the sidelines and you get to be right involved in the game? Do you get up for it like you did as a player?
Probably one of the biggest changes I've made in my life is that I have changed how I am on game day. I, as a player, as an assistant coach, and as a head coach early in my career here, in fact, not too long ago in my career here, would get physically ill every game that I ever played or coached in. It wasn't doing my health any good, and I tried to redirect some of my thoughts. I even had myself convinced that my players won't think I'm ready unless I get sick, you know. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I got kind of control of that part of my mind, and I'm ready, but I don't do it like I used to do it, and I think that's good for everybody concerned.
Who buys your sweaters?
My wife knits some of my sweaters, and some of the others, you know, I just try to bring out a little something. You know, I'm so dull of an interview that I've got to do something to brighten it up.
Well, regardless of his taste in sweaters, Rich Brooks has earned respect for himself and the entire Oregon football program.
I think his wife ought to go into business, Mike. Colorado State's Earl Bruce is also a veteran coach. He's got a lot of respect, and he's one of the winningest coaches in college football. He has the Rams program quickly turned around. They've gone from rags to riches. Nobody expected the goalpost to come down in Fort Collins this year, but they did twice. They fell after beating arch-rival Wyoming, and the following week after beating Tulsa.
There was something that was spontaneous, and it happened. I mean, it was, I look back and, oh, our team was just watching them tear down the goalposts. They'd never seen that. And then the following week, I was, I couldn't believe it. They did it because we just put new goalposts up. And there was no reason to tear down the goalposts. We beat Tulsa, but, you know, they wanted to show them that every time we win, they're going to tear down the goalposts. We don't have any goalposts now.
The season had its ups and downs, but the bottom line was success. There were only 4 defeats in 12 games. 2 of those losses were against teams Oregon beat, BYU and Arizona State. But nobody in Fort Collins is concerned about that because that was then and this is now. At the start of this year, when the Rams listed their goals, they shot for the moon.
Evidently, the first thing out of their mouth was when I said, what's number 1, they yelled, bowl game. We want to go to a bowl game. Well, I want to tell you the truth. I kind of sloughed over that one a little bit because I thought, well, I don't know whether it's timing, and I know it's always great to have that as a grasp, but I didn't know whether we could do that or not.
Several players stepped up this year to make the bowl goal a reality. The running backs were very productive. Junior Brian Copeland for 896 yards, filling in for the injured Tony Alford. Alford managed 647 yards despite foot and hamstring problems. He ran for 1,000 yards last year. The Rams flip-flopped quarterbacks, going with Mike Jimenez and Kevin Verdugo. Both were productive. Coach Earl Bruce's no-nonsense approach helped put it all together. His hard work ethic has worked before. The Freedom Bowl will be his 13th bowl game. He's the last Big Ten coach to challenge for a national title. It's only his 2nd year at Colorado State, and Bruce already has the Rams program on the upswing. This program has definite growth potential.
I think the growth from last year to this year has been tremendous as far as the support in the program. And I think if it went that way for the continue for the next 5 years, we'd really have an outstanding program at Colorado State. I mean to tell you, we'd be tremendous.
Yeah, the people in Fort Collins, Colorado, as you could guess, are really fired up about their football team. The Rams are playing, of course, in their 2nd bowl game ever. Now, Oregon has a much longer bowl history, and when we come back, a trip down memory lane.
The Oregon Ducks tonight are playing in their 8th bowl game in school history, and with a victory can even their record at 4 victories and 4 losses. It all began when Oregon first brought respect to West Coast football 73 years ago. The end of World War I was still 2 years away when the Ducks played in their first bowl game. Oregon and Pennsylvania met in the 3rd Rose Bowl ever played, January 1st, 1917. In this game, Oregon All-American Shy Huntington threw for a touchdown and ran for one. The Webfoots, as they were called back then, beat the Quakers 14-0. The Oregon victory marked a significant turning point. It meant that West Coast teams had finally achieved parity with the powerful teams from the East.
The Ducks got the Roaring 20s off to a good start. 3 years after its first Rose Bowl appearance, Oregon was back in Pasadena. The opponent was Harvard. But before the game, some important business. How about a visit to the Fox studios for a get-together with some Hollywood starlets? This is a Duck uniform from the 1920 game. Purple and gold back then. The Oregon 11 lost this game 7-6 on a controversial call. A 25-yard fourth-quarter drop kick was ruled no good. Harvard thought it was good. Crimson players slammed their helmets in disgust. Even the scoreboard operator thought it was good. He had given Oregon credit for the score before the officials made their call. It would be the Ducks' last bowl game for 29 years.
Good afternoon, everyone, everywhere. This is the old Scotchman, Gordon McClendon. And here at Dallas, Texas this afternoon in the Cotton Bowl, more than 70,000 people have come out to see the Oregon Web Feet, co-champions of the Pacific Coast Conference, tangle with the champion SMU Mustangs of the Southwest Conference in one of football's greatest shows, the Cotton Bowl. From the Web Foot 36, Kyle Rote takes the ball, fakes to Walker, booms down the middle, shakes off two Oregon men beautifully. Rote's going, gone Goslin, or should we say, gone Duck. Fourth quarter now, Norm Van Brocklin heaves to the end zone, caught by Dick Wilkins for an Oregon touchdown as Webfoot supporters go crazy. SMU 21, Oregon 13 now, and that's the way it ends as the Ducks forgot to duck just once too often.
One threw a party in the county jail. The prison band was there, they began to wail.
In 1958, the Ducks were back at the Rose Bowl and apparently in over their beaks against top-rated Ohio State. The Buckeyes, coached by Woody Hayes, were 6-touchdown favorite. Oregon lost the game 10-7, but definitely held its own against Ohio State. If it weren't for a dropped pass with 47 seconds to play, the Ducks might have pulled off one of the biggest upsets in Rose Bowl history. Oregon quarterback Jack Crabtree earned Player of the Game honors. This game was considered to be the best East-West clash to date.
Hey, Daddy, honey, is that you? Oh, Nadine.
8 months after U2 pilot Gary Powers was shot down over Russia, the Ducks played Penn State in the 1960 Liberty Bowl. The game was played on a chilly day in Philadelphia. Oregon scored the first touchdown, but the Nittany Lions dominated this game, winning 41-12.
Well, shake it up, baby, now. Shake it up, baby. Twist and shout, twist and shout.
1 month after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, Oregon was in El Paso, Texas for a Sun Bowl matchup with SMU. The Mustangs had beaten Oregon in the 1949 Cotton Bowl. On this December day, it was the Ducks coming out on top, as quarterback Bob Berry led Oregon to 3 first-half touchdowns. Oregon All-American Mel Renfro sat this one out with an injury as the Ducks beat Coach Hayden Fry's Mustangs 21-14.
My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me.
After a 26-year dry spell, the Ducks were back in a bowl game. Last year, it was the Independence Bowl at Shreveport, Louisiana. Oregon fell behind to Tulsa 17-10 at the half, but quarterback Bill Musgrave led the Ducks to 17 points in the final 18 minutes, and the Ducks beat the Hurricane 27-24. Well, it's 1990, it's the Freedom Bowl, and this is really a great location. The Ducks like to recruit players from Southern California. They have a lot of Southern California players on their roster. And of course, the boosters love this area because of the climate, when it's nice anyway. And they also like the variety of activities. Now, the football team arrived here earlier than any Freedom Bowl ever has, a Freedom Bowl team ever has. But it wasn't all practice and hard work. The Ducks had a little bit of fun, too. And part of that fun included a trip to Disney.